How do we express a fraction as a percent? Well, one of the easiest ways to do it is to take your fraction, convert it into a decimal. Okay, so what I would do is take my fraction, convert it into a decimal, and then take that decimal and convert it into a percent. That's probably the easiest way to go about this. But sometimes you just know by looking at the value, you're able to go from the fraction right to the percent. But that only works in cases where you've got some easy fractions. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Let's say I've got something like 1/5. We'll use 2/5. Okay. So let's write down example. Not that you couldn't do 1/5, but 2/5 is just more interesting. So let's say we've got 2/5, and I want to convert that into percent. Well, one way to do it would be to take this and convert it into a decimal using long division. So I could go ahead and I could take, so long division, I could go ahead and take the 5, there's my 2, right? 5 doesn't go into 2, so we make it into a 20. What would work? A 4, so 4 times 5 is 20. That's nice. Gives us a remainder of 0. So 0.4 is our decimal. So we've got 2/5 as a decimal is 0.4. And if I want to take a decimal and convert it into a percent, I just go ahead and I multiply that by 100. Right, so move the decimal place over twice, so that gives me 40%. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Okay. Now, there's another way that you could have done this. It kind of depends on the denominator. Actually, it does depend on the denominator. So another way would be to take the 2/5 and say, well, you know what? I can get this to be over 100 if I would multiply the numerator and the denominator by 20. So if I multiply the top and the bottom of my fraction by 20, the bottom becomes 100 and the top becomes 40. And we know that 40 over 100 as a percent, because we've talked about this, that's going to be equal to 40%. So we understand that there's this conversion here. So this might be another way to think about it if your denominator is nice. Like if it was a 4, a 5, a 2, a 25, a 20, all those denominators work out really nice. You get them to 100 pretty quick. Okay, but you might not have a nice denominator. You might have something like, let's say you got 16 for your denominator. So let's look at another example. So I don't think 100 is evenly divisible by 16. No, it's not. So what if you had like 21 over 16? Okay, so I made this so that it can be reduced right away, and there's not really anything nice. I mean, I can multiply by something to get the denominator to be 100, but it's not a fast way to do it by hand. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to convert this into a decimal. And so one thing that I'm going to note here is that this is an improper fraction, so I'm going to rewrite this as a mixed number. That'll just make life a little bit easier. So I believe this is 1, and then I think I've got 5/16 left over. So remember that is 1 plus 5/16. Okay, well, 1 is 100%, so I'm going to have 100% plus some other percent here. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's figure out what. So this is going to be more than 100%, right? Because 21 over 16, well, that's clearly more than 100. So if you are counting out of 16, and you get 21, you're more than 100%. So, like, let's say you've got 16 slots to fill with mail. So there's a mailbox. Yeah, I'm at the mailbox, and I can only put one letter in each mailbox. There's 16 boxes, but I got 21 letters. I've got more than 100% of the mail to fill there. Okay. So let's go ahead and take this 5/16 and make that into a decimal. So again, I'm using this idea as taking a fraction to a decimal, and then we'll go to a percent. So 5/16, kind of as a side note, I'll do it right over here. So I've got 5 inside here, and I got a 16 out here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 0, allows me to drop, so 50. So 16 goes into 50, I think, let's see here, I think 3 times will give us 48. So 3 times 16, I'm pretty sure that's going to give me 48. So if I go ahead and subtract, I get 2. 16 doesn't go into 2. So I get my 0 here, drop it. 16 will go into 21s. So 1 times 16 is 16, and I get a 4. I'm going to run down to the bottom of the page here. I'm almost out of room. Okay, so let's go ahead and drop another 0. So 40 looks like it will go twice. So that'll give me 32. And I'll get an 8. Put another 0 here, drop it down. I'll get 80. Oh, an 80. Well, that's actually nice. I'm going to have a 5 multiplied by 16 is 5 times 10 is 50, plus 5 times 6 is 30. So 30 plus 50 gives us 80, just in the nick of time. Okay, so we got, this is our decimal for this. So this means that I really have 1.3125. Okay, now I want to convert that into a percent. So to get it into a percent, I move the decimal over twice to the right. So I'll get 131.25%. And like I said, we knew we were going to get more than 100% because this value on top was larger than this value on the bottom. In other words, the numerator was larger than the denominator. So there you go. That is how we can express a fraction as a decimal.